Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Ethan.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Michael.
And Matt, what are we doing today?
Just talking about sports, baby. Woo!
Getting a little bit closer next time when you do the camera. I mean,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Pure content that we all need right now. Just close-ups of Michael. But sorry, we'll jump back on track because obviously it is another college basketball video here today because
knew I'd get you.
We are at, I believe, we are at part 6 of our college basketball videos. Man, oh man, do we just keep pumping out these videos. We got tons of conferences to cover. And today we've got some of the bigger conferences that we have talked about all season long because we've got 3 of the Power 6 conferences along with one that is a very good college basketball conference as well in the A10. So, but it's going to be stacked lineup. But for now, before we jump into it, we're going to check out some of our updates on how everybody's doing with our picks because I believe currently we sit at at least I sit at 3-2. Big record leading both you guys so far. And then we've got Michael at 2-3. Coming in a huge day yesterday after he won 2 straight after going 0-3 and not looking so hot. And then there's Matthew. He's rocking with Murray State, but besides that, rough go for him. But there's still
I got the free space on the bingo card and haven't gotten anything.
Pretty much. So Matt has been waiting to get this, but hey, he's got a chance here with these next upcoming conference championships. So you never can count them out just yet. So I'm gonna take my victory lap for now. Just kidding. I'm gonna try and knock on wood and. But yeah, that's our lineups that we've got so far. And so now we're gonna be jumping into our actual conference championship video here. So starting off here with the Atlantic 10. This is not one of the Power 6 conferences, but man, this conference is filled with some great teams that always seem to create some sort of Cinderella or surprise runs. I mean, you could think of Dayton a few years back when they almost had a 1 seed. You could think of the VCU Rams. And all these teams just continue to keep going. And obviously Davidson with Steph Curry, but now they sit once again back up atop the standings here. It's been a while since Davidson's been up top, but then you got VCU and Dayton, and then obviously the Bonnies were the favorite to win this conference. They're sitting at 4th and a little bit more shakier than people expected. So with all these teams in this conference, Matt, who do you think is going to win the Atlantic 10?
This is a great conference this year. Once again, they never cease to amaze. And I think the one thing with the Atlantic 10 that has impressed me more than anything else is for the second straight year, I think we could see at least 4 bids in this conference. There's going to be a couple of things that need to go their way in order for that to actually happen. But I do believe Davidson is the true lock of this conference, I think, to get into this tournament. VCU is probably going to be hovering right around what they were last year, 10 seed roughly. St. Bonaventure and Dayton are probably going to have to fight their way through to get in. I don't know the metrics on St. Bonaventure, but I'm sure Michael will tell you. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Heading into this, there's one team that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is the 2 seed. That is the Dayton Flyers. As of most prediction brackets, they're right on that the first 4 out or last 4 in. So they are truly on the bubble. They're going to need an impressive performance in this tournament. They cannot lose to VCU in the second round. They need a lot of things to go their way. I think it does go their way. I think they do beat VCU. That should be enough to get into the tournament if they can make the A10 championship. And I think they go further and they beat Davidson to win. I think the Flyers get their A10 championship. They've started to pick it up towards the end of the year, start really making us believe they have a chance at claiming a ticket to March. They're going to do it by winning the Atlantic 10.
Oh boy, Michael, you're going to be joining in on flying with the Flyers.
Flying with the Flyers. Come on, you can do better than that. But I digress. Dayton's a really weird team. If you're looking at their resume for a tournament or just looking at their record in general, they play 4 games at the beginning of the year. They beat UIC, then they lose to UMass Lowell, get killed by Lipscomb, and lose to Austin Peay. And then all of a sudden, the next 3 games, they beat Miami, beat Kansas, and beat Belmont. It's like, what? I mean, they've sort of balanced out as a team that's like legit good with wins over like St. Louis in that time, wins over the Bonnies, wins over Virginia Tech, win at VCU. They killed them in VCU. They beat Rhode Island, just beat Davidson at the last game of the year. Dayton is firmly on the bubble solely because of those 3 losses at the beginning of the year. And as Matt said, VCU was probably right there too. Matt seems to think VCU's in. VCU, it's iffy for them. It's really iffy. That it's going to be greasy. Like their best non-conference win is at Vanderbilt or at Syracuse. That's nothing. And I mean, they won at Dayton. That's huge. But other than that, at Davidson, another huge win. But that's pretty much it. So I think that when they play in the semifinals of this tournament, I think that's pretty much a win and in game. Loser doesn't make the tournament. Winner does. I think Dayton wins that game. So I think Dayton makes the tournament. But the problem with that is they're going to have to win the championship game. And I don't think they do. Now, who beats them, you ask? Davidson, the Bonnies, St. Louis. Could be one of those three. Davidson's the favorite of this tournament for good reason. They've lost 5 games all year. They beat Alabama this year in Alabama. Huge win. Good roster. Foster Lawyer came in from Michigan State and is just a perfect fit for this team. Bob McKillop's an excellent coach. Hyunjung Lee, excellent. I mean, excellent wing player, just spot-up shooter. Beautiful stroke. Luka Brekovic, good big man. They're very fundamentally solid. They're not good athletes like almost at all, but they are fundamentally very solid. They always make the right play. They play slow, but they play excellent offensively. But I don't think they win this tournament. I don't. The Bonnies? I'm taking the Bonnies. I take the Bonnies every year. I take them every year. I mean, come on. This team started off pretty bad. Well, I mean, let's be real. And they're running a rotation of pretty much 5 guys. That's not a recipe for success in March. But damn it, I love this team. Hopefully Oshun Oshuni is healthy enough to play consistent minutes. I believe he got hurt in one of their more recent games. He should be fine. And hopefully they can start using some of the guys on the bench who are like actually kind of good. Like there are some guys, I remember watching them very early in the season. And it's like, that guy's going to be an all league player in like a year and a half, 2 years. And they just don't use them. I don't know why. They run a 5-man rotation, but I'm trusting 5 seniors. That's what I really like to do in this time. Analytics hate the Bonnies. But I like the Bonnies. They have a good transfer in Kareem Koulibaly, who they just don't use, but he's from Pitt. He should be used more. They got a couple freshmen and sophomores who I really like. I'm not going to go through the roster, but I'm taking the Bonnies. If I'm looking at the other team, St. Louis and Richmond, great roster, horribly coached. Mooney should be fired. He should have been fired 3 years ago, though. So, yeah, I'm taking the Bonnies. Let's ride.
Geez, the Bonnies every year. I mean, they were ranked at one point. I'll give you credit for that, but I just can't choose the Bonnies this year. I can't ride with them because I think there's one team that just reigns supreme in this conference, and they earned my respect after I watched them play, and it's the Davidson Wildcats. I mean, this team is just loaded. I mean, you mentioned guys like Foster Lawyer and Hyunjung Lee, absolute dogs, but also guys like Mike Jones on that team as well, who also has complete ice in his veins, could hit those clutch shots. So they have 4 or 5 guys that are willing to go up and make that game-winning shot. And it's those people like that you need to have on a team, especially late in March, to be able to make it as far. And I feel like Davidson's got obviously a little bit of an easier route because Dayton's got to get through VCU or Richmond or some of the teams down below. But all Davidson really has to get past are the Bonnies. You get past the Bonnies, you get there. You get to the championship, and then it's a matter of beating whoever. And if you look at the KenPom too, Davidson is the highest team in this A10 or in the A10. They're at 45. Dayton's right behind them. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely respect Dayton at number 2. They're at 46. But I feel like just the people on this team, the coaching is just absolutely spectacular. Davidson, the number 1 seed, has a clear path to winning it right here. And so I have to stick with the Wildcats this year. No Steph Curry this year, but Hyunjung Lee's on this team, and I just absolutely love him to death, and I cannot wait to hopefully see him in March. So that's going to do it here for our A10. We're going to be moving now on to our big or Power 6 conference tournaments. Starting off with the beloved Big Ten. This is the one that usually every year that has pretty much 9 to 10 teams sneak in. Like last year, they were just loaded. March Madness was loaded with them this year. But this year, there's a little bit more shaky this Big Ten has been because they've kind of eaten themselves up from the inside with teams like Illinois at the top. Wisconsin celebrated their championship just a little bit too early after they lost to Nebraska. And then Purdue and Rutgers, obviously family of religion, Rutgers basketball, they sit at number 4. And just a few other teams. There's tons of teams. I think it looks like there's going to be 6 to 7, if not more, from the Big Ten getting in this year. So with all these teams having March Madness implications, Matt, who do you have winning the Big Ten?
There are 7 teams that are going to make the tournament from the Big Ten: Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue, Rutgers, Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan State. Wolverines no. They're going to be right on that bubble, but they're going to lose to Illinois in the second round. Third round, god damn, how many bye weeks do these guys have? Okay, third round they're losing to Illinois. I think that's going to be a cutoff. An 18-14 record, especially just in general, isn't good enough. I hope they don't make it because the Big Ten bias is already killer enough as is. Anyway, I digress. I believe the true favorite in this conference is not the 1 or the 2 seed, and I'm sure will give me on my analytics. It's Purdue. It's got to be Purdue. Jaden Ivey, they got the best record. Is that true? Yes, it is. They have the best record. Jaden Ivey's an absolute baller, and the Boilermakers are going to win the Big Ten. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Purdue wins this conference over Illinois in the championship game. Keep an eye out for Iowa. I think they can definitely beat Illinois the second time around. I think Purdue takes care of Wisconsin. I am not a Wisconsin believer, never have been and never will be, especially that loss to Nebraska really has me off that train. Inexcusable loss. You blew it in the biggest moment. I think Purdue celebrates the Big Ten, gets a great win, and then chokes in the first or second round like they always do.
All right, Michael, any opposing views on that?
Yeah, so what I will say is he is right. Purdue is the favorite to win the Big Ten. I will say he is probably wrong about how many teams are going to make the tournament because the Matrix has 8 Big Ten teams right now, with Indiana being squarely just outside, but like looking in, with Rutgers being in the exact same, except squarely in, looking out. Michigan's in kind of safe, just because they've beaten like great teams in this run. But this run from Michigan, I want to point out, win at Purdue, or win versus Purdue, loss versus Ohio State, win versus Iowa, loss at Wisconsin, win versus Rutgers, loss versus Illinois, win versus Michigan State, loss versus Iowa, win at Ohio State to end the year. So they're really on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. So does that mean they lose to Indiana? I don't think so. Indiana's kind of like falling apart at the point this year, but that streak could continue. And that means they'd have to win their first game of the tournament and then lose the second. So, it's something we got to keep an eye on. We're starting our research early. Got to keep an eye on that. Also, my boys, the 3 most important things in life: family, religion, Rutgers basketball.
Woo!
Woo! They're squarely on the bubble. They're going to probably need to beat Iowa to feel safe. And I think they do, because Rutgers, baby. We're back, baby. Rutgers. Woo! But yeah, Matt's right. Purdue's the favorite in this tournament, and they're the favorite for a reason. I agree with a lot of what he said about Purdue. A good roster, could lose very early in the tournament because they don't play any defense. But I think they win this conference tournament. I mean, yeah. Ken Palm has them as the best Big Ten team at 13th, which is definitely low for the Big Ten. Best offense in the country, 103rd best defense in the country. That's a problem. That's a problem right there.
Our Navy midshipmen have a better defense.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of pathetic. I love Jaden Ivey, Zach Edey, Trevon Williams. Those are really the 3 key guys. Sasha Stefanovic. She sells seashells by the seashore. 40% from 3. But yeah, Jaden Ivey's a dog. Zach Edey, Trevon Williams, 2 bigs. They don't use them together at all. But yeah, I'm taking Purdue.
All right. So there's just the urge to try and pick Rutgers is just so.
No.
Ron Harper Jr. What's the difference? If you're gonna have Jaden Ivey and Ron Harper Jr., who would you rather have to take shot? I would much rather have Ron Harper. Dude's an absolute baller. But as I digress and try and talk a little bit more logical here, this Big Ten conference is stacked this year, not as high as usual, because you look at even the Ken Palm, not a single one of the Big Ten teams is in the top 10. That shows you how more of a rougher streak they've had this season and how each team has its weaknesses. And so this was why I feel like it's going to be a little bit more of a weird team winning it this year. I wish I want to take Wisconsin, but whatever happened to Johnny Davis in that Nebraska game, which is the reason why is the reason why they lost. Johnny Davis went down, and Wisconsin is nothing without Johnny Davis. And so with him being a little bit more, I guess injured / trying a little bit more shaky, I don't know if I can trust him here in this tournament. So it gets me away from there. I really want to take Purdue, but I don't know if we all want to take the same teams. I'll stay away from them. So instead, I'll just try and stick with the Fighting Illini. I took them last year. They were able to clutch up for me. So I think Kofi Coburn here. There's not many teams stopping this Illinois team, especially when they get going. Coburn has just been downright unstoppable. He's very high candidate for Naismith Player of the Year, just behind Thwambe. And so, I mean, if we're gonna celebrate prematurely like Wisconsin did, I'll basically say, even though Wisconsin won the Big Ten and then decided to lose and then somehow basically lose their 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, I think Illinois is going to be able to kind of use that as a revenge tour, kind of say like, yeah, we were the ones who were supposed to be the 1 seed, and I think they're going to be able to take this one here. So I'm taking the Fighting Illini here in the Big Ten, and that's going to do it here for the Big Ten. And now we're going to be moving on to our next tournament. Another one. This is the one that kind of we hammered last year, called horrible, dog shit, whatever you want to call it. And man, oh man, did we eat our words, because it is time for the Pac-12 conference. Last year, none of these teams looked like they were going to be good. I mean, you could even look at Oregon State at the bottom there. They were 1-19. Beaver Nation, exactly. But they somehow made it to I believe it was the Sweet 16, if not past that, to Elite 8.
No, they made it all the way. Yeah,
they made it to Elite 8. So a team that now is sitting at 1-19, you may be thinking we're crazy, but yes, they were in the Elite 8 last year. So that shows you how weird of a tournament it was last season. But this year's a little bit more different. Obviously, you've got just Arizona just way up top there in the Pac-12. Last year, they were nothing. They got a new head coach, and all of a sudden they're a lot better. And then you got UCLA, USC, and Colorado topping out the top 4. So do we show a little bit more lenience and more credit to the Pac-12, or do you want to still keep on hammering them, Matt?
The difficulty with the Pac-12 for me is the simple fact that I'm not impressed with any of these rosters outside of UCLA. Like, Arizona's really good. I am not impressed by what they bring to the table. I'm just not. They're 28-3, but they don't have that it factor. I don't like Arizona. I think they're going to be a team that, per usual, kind of just and they absolutely choke in the tournament. A team that won't choke in the tournament is a team that was an 11 seed last year and went from first 4 to Final 4, and that's the Bruins of UCLA. Johnny Juzang is still here, and they're ready to throw down all living hell. I think that they crush USC in the semis. I'm not worried about Washington State, and if you are, go see your optometrist. But I think UCLA cruises through to the championship. I think Arizona, after Colorado kind of beefed them up a couple weeks ago, could easily do it again. I really like this Colorado Buffaloes team, but I'm not ballsy enough to pick them to win. I don't trust Arizona. I might eat those words, but there are a lot of the top dogs I don't feel good about. I don't believe in the top team in the country or the second best team in the country. So UCLA is a really good team. They're going to find a way to continue their success as they always do. This is a team primed for another Final Four run behind the legendary Johnny Juzang.
Oh boy, bold take there from Matt. But Michael, got any of the other opposing views?
When I think you look at this conference, I think there are actually teams that could steal a bid. Oregon definitely could. They're so on and off. They're so Jekyll and Hyde. Like, some game they come out and they absolutely like steamroll like UCLA in a game. And then the next game, it's like they're like competitive to the last second with Oregon State. It's kind of ridiculous. Another thing I wanted to mention, though, is that the 3 teams that made miracle runs through their conference tournaments, being Georgetown, Oregon State, and Georgia Tech this year, are all terrible. So the 3 teams in the who made miracle runs, Georgetown won 0 conference games, Oregon State won 1. By the way, come on. They could have joined us at the cellar of 0 wins, but screw them. And Georgia Tech won 5. Those teams combined in conference records were probably like 5 and like 90. I mean, they've been horrible this year. Oregon State sucks this year. I gave them shit last year, and I'm going to do it again. They stink. They stink. And this time I can say it even more confidently. Ha. But yeah, looking at bid stealers, it's Oregon. And then I think Washington State, the analytics love them. I don't love them as much as the analytics do, but they could shock the world. Granted, their path would have to be go through UCLA, probably to USC, then probably to Arizona. That's a bad path. That you basically got to beat the 3 best teams in the conference. Granted, USC are frauds. Let's call it the way it is. They're frauds. But I think Arizona is the best team in this conference by far. So I'm going to take Arizona. I really like this Arizona team. Matt doesn't believe in them. I completely disagree. Everything about this Arizona team is just designed to make me believe. Tommy Lloyd came in his first year and has done an absolutely magnificent job with this team. I mean, their losses are Oregon, Tennessee, and at UCLA. Or excuse me, not Oregon, Colorado. My bad. Colorado. I mean, they got a very good roster. Ben Mathurin was playing he is up there for first team All-American. 17 points, 5 boards. He's a star. And then you have Tubelis, you have Koloko, both averaging double digits, and then Kirk Risa, America's darling. Kid plays in a headband, and he is like one of the cockiest MFers I think I've ever seen. He's just giving everybody shit the entire time. There needs to be a camera on him, like during games. Like he draws a charge, and then like the fans are like all booing, and he's just out there going like, he's in that case. I absolutely love him. Love him. So yeah, I'm taking Arizona. I really, really like this team. I don't believe in UCLA nearly as much as Matt does. They just, something about them just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. And this USC team is a fraud. Oregon could steal a bid. That's the one I was tempted to pick Oregon, but they also could lose to Oregon State. And Oregon State is one conference win. So it would not surprise me if Oregon.
They're going to lose to Colorado. Colorado does not get the respect they deserve. The way that they played.
Oregon lost to them earlier. They're just going to walk right through them. They're going to beat them like a drum.
Okay.
And look, I know how good Colorado is. I watched that game in person.
Yeah.
I'm taking Arizona. I think they're the best team in this conference by far.
Oh boy. Well, you got obviously the top two teams in this conference. You guys have pretty much described it as well enough as anybody could, because it's the top two. It's very top two heavy. USC is completely frauds. I would absolutely agree with you, Michael. They have no reason to be. I mean, they're ranked 21 and they have some talent on the team. Are they the 21st best team in this nation? No. I feel like they're going to be a team I'm going to hammer at whoever has to play them in the upset, especially if they get like a 3 or 4 seed. I'm absolutely hammering the team they have to play against. But Colorado, Oregon, they both have some very big potential. Obviously, Oregon is known to have been able to steal these Pac-12 championships. That's what they believe did that last season in order to get in. And so this year, I really want to pick them. The urge to stick with my Ducks is so hard because but I think I'm just looking at their last few games. They are 2 of, I believe, 8 or 9. They've had 2 wins. They've had losses, including against Cal, Arizona State, and Washington State by 20. So logic is kicking in. It's like, no, Ethan, you're not going to do it. You're not going to side with Will Richardson. It's not going to happen this year. So I'm holding my urge back. And so we're going to look at the rest of the teams that are in this conference. And there's only 2. I really like Arizona. I just don't think I could choose them because I feel like there's one team with more tournament experience, and that's UCLA. They surprised everybody, and they made me eat my words so much. So I'm kind of choosing them out of respect this year, and I believe they have the talent, especially since they just built that program up. Everybody that was from that Final Four team returned, and so I think they're going to be coming back with vengeance, and they really want to win this Pac-12 championship. So I feel like UCLA is going to win it here. So, all right, now on to our final conference of the video. So we have got the Southeastern Conference, otherwise known as the SEC. This one got a lot of top-heavy teams here in Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas. All those teams, spectacular seasons, 3 of which have not lost at home. So these teams, a few others include LSU and the most bipolar team in college basketball, Alabama. And there's a lot of teams in here that have been ranked this season. So with so many teams that are very, very good in this one, in this Power 6 conference, Matt, who do you got this time?
I would like to point out that I believe this is the best conference of college basketball this year. Sue me if you think I'm wrong, but I think this is the best conference of college basketball this year. I know he thinks I'm wrong. I think it is. Here's the thing. There's a team in here I distinctly hate from last year. And I picked against them probably every bracket I did. Tennessee. I hate them. Like, they were so overrated last year. It was not even funny. This year's different. This year they're underrated. Nobody gives Tennessee the light they deserve. And I think they're a ridiculously good basketball team. I don't like Auburn. Jabari Smith's a great player. They'll make some waves in March. I just don't like them in this tournament because they got to get through the must-bust, baby. Woo-hoo, go Razorbacks. I don't trust Kentucky either. Notice how I don't like a lot of the top teams. You see this in the craziness of my brackets. Trust me. Alabama is so bipolar that I think they can easily beat Kentucky and then like almost lose to Vandy or Georgia. Who knows? No one cares about that game. That's honestly just fun comedy relief. Okay, I need to get on track. My point is, I hate Tennessee. I used to hate Tennessee, but I have a lot of respect for them this year, and I think they stun the world in the SEC. I think they beat Auburn. I think they beat Alabama. I think they beat whoever they need to play. I think they beat Kentucky. This team's legit. This is a team that can make a run in March. They could be like that 4-seed SEC Auburn team did a couple of years ago and make a big move out of nowhere. I think Tennessee could be that team. Give me the Volunteers.
Oh boy, a bold choice again, Matt. Feeling himself today. So, Michael, you got any? You gonna be picking somebody different?
Yeah, I definitely am. I actually really like this Tennessee team, though. I think Kennedy Chandler is an elite lead guard. That's exactly what they were missing last year. They needed a lead guard. They play great defense too. The problem is Kentucky is one of the hottest teams in the country. They lost at Arkansas and they lost at Tennessee. And other than that, I mean, their last loss is at Auburn. Like, come on. Those are 3 games. Like, you get a pass for losing those games. You're going into a rough territory against an elite team in the country. What Matt mentioned with Auburn, I tend to agree. I think Auburn could lose early in March solely because they're a team that rides so much on momentum. Like, when you look at their guards, Katie Johnson, Wendell Green, when things are not going well for them, they're really not going well for them. And it just, everything collapses there. And you need guards who can play, like, who can face adversity in March. I just don't think those guys can. But yeah, Kentucky's the best team in this conference. They are 3rd in KenPom for a reason. 3rd best offense in the country, 14th best defense. They play wrong team. 3rd best offense in the country, 25th best defense in the country, and they play 166th best tempo. So they can pretty much play in any way you want to play them because Oscar Tshiebwe inside is a manimal. I mean, there's no other way to put it. The dude is averaging 17 and 15. That's insane. That is unheard of. I was one of the people who was like, oh, he's leaving West Virginia. That's a weird move. Yeah, paid off. I mean, completely paid off. It's incredible. Arkansas is hot entering the tournament. I'm just not picking them just because they have to go against Kentucky. That's really it. I think they play Kentucky in the finals, and I think they lose a close game. As Matt mentioned, I actually like this Tennessee team in March. And the reason I don't think this is the best conference in the country like Matt does, the top 6 teams in this conference being Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, and Alabama are so much better than the rest. I know like LSU and Alabama had the same conference record as like 7 other teams, but they're just so much better. Like when you look at the way this conference is going to be bracketed in March, Auburn could be a 1, Kentucky could be a 1, maybe a 2, Tennessee a 3, Arkansas a 4, LSU, Alabama, both around that 6-7 line, and then no one else making the tournament. Florida is very much on the outside looking in, but I don't see it. And then everyone else is just like nothing. Last thing I want to say, this Alabama team reminds me a lot of that Auburn team, except that Auburn team won the conference tournament, but they either almost lost to New Mexico State and then they made the Final Four. Alabama is that exact same team. They were the exact same team, but I think Kentucky's the best team in this conference. Give me Kentucky.
Out of all teams in the SEC this year, there's one player that is pretty much, I think, secured the Naismith Trophy for himself. You can say otherwise, but that guy is Oscar Thwombe. This guy is just, you can make fun of how I say it. It's going to be, I know I say it wrong. Tshiebwe, whatever. However you
Tshiebwe, I don't know how you, I mean, like, I don't even know who the hell you were talking about.
Sorry about that. Tshiebwe. Blah, blah, blah. I can't even English. Thank you. That is something for after the video. I'll try and figure out. But yes, this guy is an absolute dog down low. I mean, obviously you already said it, 17 and 15. There's no other player even close to averaging something like that. And so he's having a season of the ages for a big man. And especially in a conference that is very top heavy, like you guys said. And I think out of anybody, at least in this conference tournament so far, I think Kentucky has the easiest route. They have to get past, yes, a tough Tennessee team, but there's nobody else they really have to worry about too much. Where Auburn has to, I think Auburn, like you guys said, might even lose to Arkansas, and Arkansas will sneak their way in because I think Arkansas is coming in, like you said, red hot, and I believe that they have the ability to be able to knock them off. They already did it this season in a electrifying way, and I feel like they're going to be able to do it again here. Even though I feel like that Auburn team is really talented, I feel like they're just going to fall short somewhere down the line. So Kentucky, though, this team, its resume is insanity. I mean, yes, they've got losses to Auburn and a few towards the end of the stretch against Tennessee and Arkansas, obviously. But I feel like those were all just last minute losses. And obviously there's been a few injuries on this team, but I feel like they're just about getting healthy towards the end of the season. And just the way that this team is built, they are built for championships. So I'm very worried. I'm not a fan because it's another blue blood built for another championship like they always are. But I really feel like this Kentucky team is one to fear this year. So, alrighty, I will attempt to figure out how to pronounce his name after this, but that is a goal for after this. But instead, that's going to probably do it here for our 6th video of our college basketball tournament previews. Make sure you guys go check out all of our previous videos if you haven't seen them so far to see who we chose and our records, as some conferences are finally actually coming to an end or already. So, but until then, I think that they'll do it here. And until then, we'll be here just talking about sports. Adios.
Enjoy the week.
Not over.